rice today. I mean, I wasn't able to. I was in Los Angeles. I couldn't really I couldn't pick it up. So, anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank God these lunch and learns are expanding. You should have every day from Monday to Friday, so moms don't have to pack you lunches anymore. That's it. But I want you to know that your mom's food is always better than this outside made food. Never replace it with your mother's food. The reason is because they make it with love, not for commercial purposes. So obviously it has a better taste. Anyways, I wanted to share with you, something I think a little bit different. We're learning about Mesilas Yesharim till now. The times that we're going through, a lot of trouble sometimes, to be honest, put in the best way. We just lost 12 soldiers yesterday. 12 of Jewish soldiers. I mean, I guess they're mostly Jewish. Sometimes they have other ones that are in the Israeli army. But because they're going through the tunnels right now, and there's a lot of booby traps, and there's a lot of, you don't know where you're going into. We really need God's help. We need a miracle, I'm saying, to come out of there without any harm. But one of the things that I wanted to study with you, I'm sure you're going to come across this, whether you go to seminary later on, maybe in high school, you're going to learn is one of the books that the Ramchal wrote, the same author of Mesilas Yesharim, it's called Derech Hashem. Now, the second chapter he actually talks about the idea, does bad happen to good people? I don't like to say why bad. Have you studied that? Today? You finished it? Oh, so then let's do it fully. Then you're going to get 100 on your test. Which one did you do?
We learned about that question.
Yeah, like the background.
Yeah, why? You're saying why? Why bad things happen to good people? Right? So I'm going to talk about it. First of all, I don't like the question because bad things don't happen to good people. The question is, does bad thing happen to good people? In our eyes, are definitely bad, but in God's eyes, for some reason, they're not bad. So let's go through it. Actually, I think that Ramchal brings 6 or 7 reasons. Yes. I think get somebody to donate a new sound system. It's embarrassing for the schools. If any of your parents work into electronics and sound system, let them donate it. Anyways, guys, putting all the jokes aside because we got to eat the pizza, you have class coming up. So in the second chapter, he talks about does bad thing happen to good people? You're going to go through the first reason. By the way, this reason is brought down in the Gemara. Also, according to Rashi and some of the commentators, is actually brought down in Chumash, in Parshat Vaschana. So we're going to see what it is. You see, going through this, the Ramchal writes down, as we studied it a few weeks ago, the purpose of creation is not for the time now. God didn't create the world for the wars and all the trouble that's happening right now. God created the world actually to share His perfection with other people. It doesn't give partial goodness. We learned about it last week. The best good thing that God could give us a chance to be attached to Him, right? Being the most perfect human being is being attached to the most perfect being, which is God Himself. But God had two reasons why He brought us to this world first. Number one, He didn't want us to be freeloaders. Remember that? If He would come to the time of Mashiach and the Tchias Hameisim resurrection world to come, and we go there for free, we didn't earn it. It's embarrassing. We're a lot embarrassing. He brought us in this world. And what happens is, the purpose is that we have a choice to do good or bad, and we choose to do good, so we actually earn to be attached to God. The second reason why God did it is because for us to be able to be attached to God, we've got to be similar. We have to emulate God. Now, how could a creation emulate God? It's impossible. So obviously, we have to emulate Him as much as we can, and that is, God makes us deficient. We're lacking a lot of good qualities, but we make ourselves perfect. Just like God is perfect on His own accord, nobody gave perfection to God. Nobody made Him smart. And I'm saying whatever perfection He has is from Himself. So therefore, He gives us the chance. When we build ourselves to be perfect people, we resemble God to a certain extent. I think we studied this last year, a little bit with the book of, what was it? From the Ramak. Tomer Dvorah, right, in that Sefer. So anyway, so He put us in this world. He gave us the Yetzer Hara. We have tendency to do good or bad. So some people go completely good. Person like Moshe Rabbeinu. You have some people that go completely bad. Guys like Hamas. These guys are just evil. You have guys like Hitler. They're just evil people. So for God, it's very easy to deal with them. The good ones that are fully good, they have a share in the world to come. The evil ones, they won't have a share. He gets rid of them. The problem is majority of people. We are majorly good and we have some, wrong stuff, some wrong things done. So what is God going to do with us? He's going to look at a person with his major good stuff. He did mostly good deeds. So let's disregard the evil that he did. Then God's judgment is not complete. What is going to tell bad guys? Because you're 90% bad, I'm not going to reward you for the good that you did. That's not proper either. You have to get reward or consequences for every act that we do. So here, because most people are mixed with good and bad, so to speak, that makes trouble for God. What is he supposed to do? This is the challenge. I mean, it's a wrong word. God has no challenges, but this is the challenge that God has. So what he does, God decided that he's going to give the reward in two different times and in two different places. He judges the person majorly based on his, majority of his actions. So let's say if he's 90% good, 95% good, 75% good, whatever God, decides, he will have a share in the world to come. But what about the wrong things that we did in our lifetime? We have to get cleansed from it, not just because God's judgment has to be complete. If I have some, infection, so to speak, some dirt on my soul, I can't be connected to God in the world to come. So that's where the suffering in this world comes. The purpose is not to take revenge, it's to clean a person from the dirt that's on his soul. Just like, surgery, it's very painful. I wish there was no surgeries at all, but sometimes we got to go through it for a person to have a longer life. And then also vice versa is true also. You have, let's say, many people that are wicked, but they have done some good deeds, no question about it. So God has to give them the reward, but he gives it to them in this world. So they won't have no share in the world to come. I'm sure you have studied this. So with this first approach, the Ramchal explains why we find many tzaddikim suffer in this world, whether it's health-wise, money-wise, or whatever, some troubles that happen in their lives. And that also answers to a certain extent why we find wicked people that actually prosper. The righteous are suffering for the small wrong things that they did, and the wicked people are actually prospering for the few good things that they did in this. This shouldn't shatter your faith, in God. That's one of the things that Ramchal says. Actually, Ramchal brings a pasuk to support it. Shlomo HaMelech says, "Ein tzadik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov." There's no righteous person in the world that does good, velo yechta, that he doesn't have something lacking, doesn't do a sin. So this is the first thing that he brings. He actually adds another attachment to it. What happens if a guy, let's say, is only 60% good? He still deserves to go to the world to come. Sometimes a guy could be 40% good, but he still deserves to go to the world to come. But the suffering in this world is not enough to cleanse it. So what's going to do? Not get his share in the world to come? So he says that's why we have the cleansing. That answer. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Right. So that's why he says there's purification after this world for the people that the suffering cannot cleanse them. So what happens is they actually go through the after purifications, afterlife, which generally is called Gehenna. That's the name actually that he calls. Very good. I wanted to give a speech next week. No, 2 weeks. You ready? Prepare something. Honestly, I shouldn't be the only one speaking. You're smart people, you know their stuff, even though you come unprepared. Anyways, now let's see, where does the Torah discuss this? It's in Parshat V'etchanan. I don't have a chumash here, I'm sorry guys, but again, if I remember the pasuk correctly, it says in the last two psukim of Parshat V'etchanan, it says, Shalem el son of al panav. God pays his enemies during their lifetime. It says, Lo ye'acher l'shalmo, doesn't delay paying him, el panav yeshalem lo. He's going to pay him during their lifetime. What is he talking about? God pays them during their lifetime, his own enemies. We're talking about people that are majorly not good, but have done some good deeds. So God doesn't wait to reward them in the world to come, because doesn't deserve the world to come. He'll pay him in this world. That's what it says, Meshalem al panav, he will pay him during his lifetime. We also have in Gemara Brachot, again, I don't know if they teach girls Gemara, some places they do. But anyways, at least the stories of the Gemara, which is mostly Medrash, many places they teach them, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu had a problem. He came to God and he says, God, tell me, why do righteous people suffer? That was his question. Why is tzaddik v'ralo? You have a tzaddik that has no good life. He's not prospering. He's actually suffering. And then his question was, why is it rasha v'tovlo? Why is the wicked person prospering? So God answers him in the words of the Gemara, that a tzaddik that suffers, it's tzaddik she'einu gomur. He's not a complete tzaddik. These are the only words of the Gemara. And the Maharsha explains, what do you mean by not being a complete tzaddik? He has a few sins. So he gets the cleansing in this world. And then regarding the complaint, why is wicked people prospering? So over there he answers, because he's Rasha she'einu gomur. He's not completely wicked. Somebody who's 100% wicked, okay, he's going to suffer here too. But he's not completely wicked. He has some good deeds also, therefore he gets the reward in this world. So we got a pasuk in Parshat Va'etchanan. We got actually the Gemara and Brachas. If you want to impress your teachers, is on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. So I checked it out, I looked at the Maharsha. Doesn't matter, I said it was as if you looked at it. You could tell them, they give you extra credit, ask for another 5 points. You get 105 instead of 100. It would be awesome. You know, but I taught in Oral Khan and Chabad for 8 years. So we had to tell the kids extra credit. Sometimes they will get 110 instead of 100. I don't know if they do it here, but anyway, it's a good idea, I think. I just wanted to add one story, and I'll be finished in 3 minutes, that we do find that God actually pays somebody's rewards if the action is good, even if he has an ulterior motive to do the good action. You know, guys, Egypt has always been, the Tanakh calls Egypt, they used to be allies with Israel against Assyria, against Ashur. And whenever, Ashur used to come and attack Israel, Egypt would say, we're going to come support you, don't worry about it. Go to war against Assyria. So these Israeli people, the Jews, felt pumped up. They went to the war. At the end, Egypt never showed up. So the Navi calls the Egyptians, they're like a supportive bamboo. It's called kone, a bamboo. Why? Because on a tree, you can lay down and nothing happens. You could support yourself by a tree. But imagine you lean on a bamboo, what happens? It bends and breaks. And because it breaks, it bruises you. The splinters will bruise you. That's what Egypt was. So God says, you know what? I'm going to punish Egypt for all the false promises that they gave. What's the punishment? That Nebuchadnezzar, he's going to attack and he's going to destroy Egypt. That's what Yechezkel says. And by the way, Yechezkel promises that it will never become a superpower anymore. Egypt hasn't been a superpower since its destruction. Times of Yechezkel. You're going back 2,400 years ago. See, the words of Navi are true. So they'll never become a superpower again. And they never did. So anyways, why would it deserve to expand his territory, conquer Egypt? So it says because there was a man that made himself into a big idol. His name was Hiram. He was the king of Sur. Sur, I think, is Tyre, whatever you call it, in Lebanon, still exists. And he actually built, very amazingly, 7-floor palace in the middle of the ocean. Don't ask me how he did it. With the technology, that was nothing those days. And then he claimed himself a god. He says God has the 7 heavens as his dwelling place. I have the 7 floors of, palace in the middle of the ocean. So Yechezkel gets carried there by God's command. And then he says, you're not a god. And he lived for 1,200 years. But 1,200 years, he lived longer than Adam. Adam lived only 930 years. Noah only lived, whatever, 950. The biggest one that we have is Metushelach, 969. But I'm saying, do not people living for so many thousands of years. He lived for 1,200 years. So Yechezkel tells him, because you consider yourself a god, Nebuchadnezzar will come and he's going to actually get rid of you. Nebuchadnezzar got there, somehow killed him, and he was like a Hamas type of a guy. After he killed him, you know what he did? He kept his body in a freezer, and he would use actually an iron comb and scrape his skin and pickle it and eat it. He was a vicious person. To become vicious, he would take, like what Hamas and ISIS people do. They take mice and they fight their head off to become cruel. He used to do that to a rabbit every day. Pretty disgusting stuff that normal people don't do. Anyway, so because he got rid of Hiram, he gets the land of Egypt. But why did he kill Hiram? Because he wanted to do God a favor, to get rid of an idol. He was an idol worshiper himself. So definitely his own entire intention was only to expand his territory. But because it was a good deed, God paid him. And he gave him land of Egypt as part of his territory. And later God punished for the stuff that he did. But from this story we see that even somebody who's very wicked, and even if he does good, he has ulterior motive, God doesn't stay indebted to him. He'll actually pay him in this world So we'll have a share. You won't have a share in the world to come. Thank you for listening. Sorry, I spoke a little bit too long.